So, picture this. Two identical resumes slide across a hiring manager's desk. Literally 10 years of experience each. Exactly identical scores on the technical whiteboard screen. But, flash forward 6 months later, one team is shipping features faster than ever, and the other, totally paralyzed. Stuck in these endless Slack threads that nobody can ever seem to resolve. Why? What is the actual difference here? Well, the gap between these two candidates was never about how fast they can type or how many frameworks they know. It was purely behavioral.
That invisible difference, that is what we call the senior mindset, professional software engineering mastery. Because true seniority in software engineering, it really isn't about your tenure or, the number of languages you've mastered. It's actually a fundamental shift in perspective, behavior, and above all else, accountability.
To understand how a developer makes that leap from just writing code to delivering real strategic business value, we're going to break this down into 6 pillars: playing the winner's game, zooming out with systems thinking, the team multiplication effect, strategic pragmatism and trade-offs, the soft skills differentiator, and finally, navigating failure and ambiguity. All right, let's dive into pillar 1, playing the winner's game. This is all about shifting to an outcome-centric mindset. Think about your daily workflow for a second. A junior mindset often dictates, hey, my job is done when the pull request is merged, right? They move the Jira ticket to done and just wash their hands of the whole thing. But the senior mindset, their job is done when the problem is actually solved in production. Real professionals take full end-to-end responsibility for a feature's reliability out there in the real world. They're optimizing for team outcomes and strategic business value, not just their own individual technical output. It really comes down to this idea. Amateurs play not to lose by avoiding errors. Professionals play to win by shaping the match strategically. A senior developer doesn't just blindly implement requirements to close a ticket and, avoid getting yelled at. Before they even touch their keyboard, they're evaluating long-term impacts and aligning their solutions with the ultimate business goals.
Moving on to pillar 2, zooming out, systems thinking.
Technical debt rarely arrives in one giant cinematic architectural explosion. It's usually those invisible everyday symptoms. The file that everyone just kind of routes around because it's too fragile. The function signature that mysteriously grew a 4th Boolean flag. That flaky test that got commented out to unblock a deploy. Or the comment explaining what a workaround is doing but never why it's actually there. Seniors spot these early because they know exactly how localized hacks multiply. They instinctively zoom out before they zoom in.
Because the harsh reality is, a quick hack today multiplies into a total systemic crisis 6 months later. Sure, coding is fundamentally about low-level details, but system design and true seniority are about high-level architecture and downstream awareness. It's constantly asking, if I take this shortcut today, who exactly is going to pay the compound interest on it tomorrow? Which brings us to pillar 3, the team multiplication effect, elevating your peers. This multiplication effect happens in a pretty clear sequence: mentoring colleagues, conducting structural code reviews, and sharing knowledge via documentation. Seniors actively reduce the cognitive load on their entire team. They proactively unblock others, provide crystal clear clarity, and improve processes. And they do all of this leading through sheer influence and support, entirely without a formal management title.
Ultimately, your legacy is the developers you help grow, not just the code you write. True masters absolutely refuse to be a bottleneck of information. Instead of hoarding knowledge to make themselves look, indispensable, they ensure their knowledge is thoroughly shared. They actually want the team to succeed, even if they have to step away for a week.
Pillar 4, strategic pragmatism and trade-offs.
$150,000 to $225,000. Let that sink in. That is the staggering hidden organizational cost of hiring a senior developer who lacks strategic pragmatism and soft skills. Between recruitment, lost productivity, and team disruption, a bad hire at this level is a massive financial blow.
So on one side, you have rigid dogma, blindly enforcing strict textbook clean code rules regardless of context. But on the other side, engineering pragmatism, weighing speed versus reliability based on rational business trade-offs. You really have to know when to just build a quick prototype and when to invest deeply and engineer a fortress. True professionals master strategic refusal. They push back when a request compromises the system's quality, but they always present those trade-offs clearly to stakeholders.
Let's look at pillar 5, the soft skills differentiator. The behavioral differences here are just stark, especially as technical skills become baseline table stakes. Take estimation, for example. A mid-level coder usually gives a single confident number. A senior? They give a range, state their assumptions, and flag the risks. A junior sees changing specs as this annoying disruption, while a senior fully expects the specs to evolve and builds the architecture to accommodate that. And for architecture itself, they don't just implement whatever they're handed, they propose and defend the necessary trade-offs, translating complex technical decisions for non-technical stakeholders.
Conversely, you really have to watch out for behavioral red flags in senior candidates. Getting defensive to follow-up questions, hiding behind heavy technical jargon when a product manager is just asking for clarity, always blaming external factors for past failures, or being totally unable to describe a time they learned something from a teammate. These are huge warning signs. They indicate a severe lack of emotional intelligence and an inability to proactively manage up.
And finally, Pillar 6, navigating failure and ambiguity. When it comes to communicating technical debt, a mid-level dev might say something like, "This code is bad." But honestly, that's just asking someone to agree with your subjective taste. A true senior manages up. They'll say, "Getting this change in cost me a full day." See the difference? They frame the issue around business impact and time lost, a matter of record that leaders can actually act on. And when errors occur, they don't just apologize. They treat mistakes as systems data, seeking the root cause to prevent it from ever happening again.
So, the crucial point is how you systematically propose fixes. Don't just complain. Ask about the original intent before judging. Bring concrete data on the time you personally lost. Propose small, manageable fixes that actually fit inside a sprint. And whenever possible, attach the cleanup to work that's already scheduled. Honestly, that's how you improve the codebase without grinding feature delivery to a complete halt.
Look, with AI and modern tools, writing code is only getting faster and easier. But true engineering mastery, that requires so much more. Are you just writing code, or are you shaping the match? That strategic mindset, the communication, the pragmatism, that is what makes you absolutely irreplaceable. So take these pillars, apply them to your daily habits, and keep shaping the match.